Yes, yes, yes. It's another fantastic segment in our empowerment series. Ladies, I just want to say it's halfway through the year, ladies. Desiree and Cody, you've stuck it out with me. Yeah, jazz hands are appropriate. Oh, I want to welcome Detina. I know we should have Argita as well, but I am not sure. I think Agita is having some traveling problem. Cody, you're not the only one. No, there's somebody else trying to get in who will come in. Cody's always the one with
I've been training them. I've been training them.
Yes. So Agita will come in when she can, right? So first of all, I would just like to introduce myself, and then we're going to introduce the panelists are going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into it. But this empowerment series, I know we have so many women in it. It's not just for the women. Men, you can listen and pay attention, because you know what? You always want to know what women want. Yes, what motivates us. Yes. So yes, still pay attention, and you can pass on the recording to your wives and your female associates after you've watched. All right. I am Bernie Davis, and I am the founder and CEO of Bernie Davis Global. Now, what I'm all about is empowerment. If you ask me, what do I do? The single thing is empower. And I empower through various means, whether it's by speaking, training, coaching, mentoring, whether it's through my books that I author, whether it's through empowering other authors and publishing authors, whether it's working with the local government, with the Welsh government, with the local banks and universities. It's all about how to help people to find the uniqueness in themselves and their business, own it, bottle it, sell it, create a brand that wins and a brand that takes others with them. So it's not about, I was talking earlier before we started. I was saying to Desiree, you wouldn't like to know me when I was younger, because I was so competitive. I was taking no one with me. I was on your shoulder and I was leaving you in my dust. But I learned my hard lessons. Check out my TED talk. I learned my hard lessons, and I have learned that there is power in collaboration. There is power in unity. And that is why I make it my mission to join with other women, men, women, organizations, anything that's about bringing people together, helping people to feel like they belong. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big thing for me. So guys, that's why we're here. And that's why I have these powerhouses as my resident panelists, Cody Gapare and Desiree Peterkin Bell. I'll hand you over to them so they will introduce themselves and you understand why we are together on this mission in 2022 to empower people. Cody, let's start with you.
Like you said, it's halfway through the year and we're still here, and we're going to go on for as long as we can. And my name is Cody Gapare. I am first and foremost founder and owner of Zalli. I'm also a mother. I'm a speaker. I've recently done a TEDx called Just One Act. And I would really like it if anybody out there who hasn't watched it to go and watch it, because it's about, not only is it about my journey, but it also encourages anybody who has something inside of them that they are waiting to birth to just give you that kick to go on and do it. I've also been working for a few years before I started working with MMU as a new product to market mentor. And I've decided that I'm going to go finally officially launch my website where I mentor especially women who are trying to bring a new product to market, because I've done it myself successfully. And I'm going to introduce. And I've also been, because I was one of the Northwest most exciting, one of 30 Northwest most exciting companies, and I was nominated as Cheshire Women of the Year. I was a Cheshire Women of the Year nominee, and also Businesswoman of the Year nominee 2022. So that is me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cody, and congratulations. I have watched your TED Talk. Guys, you've got to watch it. I know Argita is trying to join us. So I would like to, whilst I'm getting her on the screen, to introduce Desiree. Please do, and beautiful picture on the front cover there, Cody. Beautiful picture on the front cover of the Insider. Right. Okay. So Argita, I think you are up now. We've got you in. Thank you. You've made it. Fantastic. Awesome. Welcome. Right. We're just introducing ourselves at the moment. Desiree, would you
Thank
please
you.
now?
Yes. Well, first,
Glad to meet you all.
nice to meet you too.
Fabulous.
Congratulations, Cody. And yes, we've made it half a year.
Right.
Always exciting to be here for these conversations that are always impactful. My name is Desiree Peterkin Bell. I'm the president and CEO of a global public affairs firm. We work with people who want to make a difference, brands that matter, and movements, not moments. And so, whether it's working with former President Barack Obama or current President Joe Biden, or working with world leaders like Pope Francis, or amazing music icons like Jay-Z or others, or being in the street and the trenches and protesting for women's rights and reproductive rights, and for everyone to be included in this world and to show up just as they are. That is the work that we do. I'm also an international bestseller. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and recently I was named by Forbes and Forbes the Culture as a major culture change maker. And I'm very excited about that. I always tell folks you can follow me on Twitter. That's where I share lots of my insights at DP Bell, or LinkedIn as well on Desiree Peterkin Bell. And so I'm excited to be part of this conversation and continuing to make change and impact.
Awesome. Fantastic. Brilliant. Detina.
Yes, firstly, I would like to thank you, Bernie, for inviting me here. And thank you, Cody and Desiree, for it's an honor to get to know you, all three of you, and to share this online stage, if we can call that way, with you all. Just an introduction of myself as well. I'm also about the diversity and inclusion, especially from students coming from disadvantaged backgrounds and low ethnic minorities. I'm an academic. I'm a biochemist. Got my PhD in England, came to the UK when I was a little kid. Then I migrated to the US for about 6 years, where I spent time at Harvard University, mainly Harvard School of Dental Medicine, and also collaborated with Harvard Medical School. I then came back to the UK to pursue my dream of education, and especially that of enhancing education among students from low ethnic minorities. While I was at Harvard, I co founded a non-profit organization called We Speak Science, the aim of which is to educate in order to innovate, in order to change the world, with a special focus as well to the girls in science, which I think is very important. At the moment, I'm an academic at University of Cambridge when I'm directing the pre-medical studies course, and I'm very excited about it because, as Bernie said, the key thing for us is to empower others, to empower women, young girls, to give them the ability and the confidence that they can reach anything they want if they believe in themselves, because confidence and believing in you are key things. I think every single person in the world has got a passion or a special um, a special talent. It is us to make sure that they show it to the world and shine.
Exactly. And I am so inspired by your story, and inspired by all of what you represent and what you do. Argita, you made it. You are Cody number 2. You know that. Cody is the one who normally comes racing in.
Can I just mention something before Argita starts? Normally, identical twins are we are. I'm an identical twin with Argita, but Argita is mostly late. So if so, Argita, next time, please don't be late. Yeah.
Tell you
This
what,
this
she's
shows
This shows that I'm much more busier than Detina.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
I love this. I love this.
That is absolutely not true. I can
Yes,
assure you
I
that
love
is not true.
oh, this is excellent. Well done, you two. All
That's
right,
good.
come on,
That's good.
Argita.
Well, thank you so much, Bernie, for the invitation. It's so great to be here. I apologize for being late. I just finished my meetings. It's been non-stop meetings throughout the day. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, Detina is my copy actually because I was born first. I'm 5 minutes
Ooh,
older than Detina. Um, we both kind of follow the same educational pathway. We started molecular medicine at University of Sussex, then we did a PhD. I did it at University of Birmingham. Detina did it at University of Leicester. From there, I started to um, basically practice what I learned. So I became a scientist at University College London, where I, apart from science, doing research, I also directed a few courses in medical education, and I was also awarded UCL Medical Students Top Teaching Award for a neuroimmunology module that I directed and delivered. From there, I moved to Imperial College London, where I carried on my research in hematology, psychobiology, as well as immunology. So overall, and I had the pleasure and the privilege while working on UCL to collaborate with top scientists as well as in Imperial and publish high impact journal articles, and also had the privilege of publishing with a Nobel Prize winner. From there, I continued teaching in the medical bioscience program in Imperial College, but I was very passionate about digital education. So I've been working as a senior learning and teaching specialist, helping the Faculty of Medicine in Imperial, developing and delivering the modules and domains from the learning design perspective, ensuring quality assurance, embracing diversity and inclusivity in all aspects of learning design that we do. But apart from that, as Detina mentioned, I'm all about women empowerment and inviting women to science, about leadership, embracing different nations, and we're doing everything we can to promote students in STEM, entering STEM education, especially women, and ensure that they reach their full potential through motivation, encouragement, um, ensuring that they believe in themselves, they have the confidence to achieve their dreams and go out there and embrace the change, lead the world.
awesome. Thank you so much, Agita. And ladies, I had the privilege of watching Detina and Agita's TEDx talk, which is out soon at TEDx Swansea. And as you can already see, they are quite a double act. Yes, and they did it together. And so, what I'd love for both of these ladies to do is just because the thing is, they have achieved a lot, but a lot of people have achieved a lot. Yes, and they've achieved a lot for a very young age. But there are a few people, that have achieved a lot at a very young age. But then they achieved a lot at a very young age, going through things that a lot of people have not actually gone through and attained the heights that they have. And that is why they stand out. And that is why I thought that I would love to get them on my platform alongside these already fantastic, overachieving women I have on my panel, to just actually let people see that, it is one thing to achieve and it's another to do it young. But the most important thing is to achieve it young after going through tremendous challenges, but still able to maintain your humanity and maintain your humility and be still in touch with the things that really core things that matter in life. And that's what these ladies have achieved. And that's why they are special. So Detina and Argita, just talk to us, bounce off each other and share your journey, that journey from your homeland to the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a little kid, all I cared about is not really toys, getting presents from my parents, at 7 or 8 years old, but I cared about two things. The first thing initially is because we were poor. I hoped that my parents did not get sick, because if they got sick, it meant that we needed to go to the hospital and pay money, so we didn't have money. So in the mind of a child, if my parents get sick, they will die, they will abandon me. So that I pray to God every single day did not happen. And the second most important thing, which is equally as important actually, that I prayed for, was especially in the years 1997, 1998, where Albania was going through a civil war. There was a corruption of the country. People were fighting against each other. Children had guns, our friends had guns, boys of 9 years old, 10 years old had guns. So we were even afraid to play with them. Those that we once recognized as our friends were not our friends anymore. We would see them as people with guns. So the other thing that I really prayed for was to ensure that my father came home safe after the work, because there were many people that were shot and there was a very difficult situation. So the only way for us to escape of that situation is to really leave Albania. But how can we leave Albania when you don't have a passport, when you don't have a visa, when there is nobody there to help you, when you don't know where to go?
Yeah, and that's where, and I remember being a child, and it was inflicted in us the desire to leave the country, to leave Albania, so we could have a brighter future. We didn't know what that brighter future meant to us. A brighter future meant that we could go to school, a proper school, and buy a Mickey Mouse ruler or a Mickey Mouse bag, be happy, get some, buy some chocolate croissants or bananas. We used to have them, when we were 12 years old, once a month, maybe. That was our, special day when our parents would get the salary, and they would treat us with a banana and a chocolate croissant, and yeah, just be happy. And we remember that we were unlike other kids. We wanted to know the details of every conversation that our parents had about leaving Albania, leaving our country, and all the plans they made to go to Canada and USA, and all the plans failed because there was no real plan. Every time we would think about something, or someone would tell us, yes, it's possible to leave Albania and go there, it would fail because eventually that plan didn't work. And we were heartbroken. We were hopeless. We were, we didn't know where to go, and we were thinking, oh my God, we could hear bullets and guns, and Albania wasn't safe in 1997. We were not going to school because all schools were closed for safety reasons. So eventually, Dad spoke to this doctor through a neighbor, and the doctor assured us that we could go to England in a safe way, which meant no speedboats, but through a regular visa and regular passport. But that meant that our parents had to lie, and they had to pretend to be a businessman and a businesswoman,
Can
pretending
I
to go. Yeah,
can
go
I add
ahead.
something to that, Argita? Because a lot of people, when you mention a doctor, probably would feel a bit strange. How come a doctor is involved in all of this journey? Well, a doctor at that time could be anything. He could be a doctor part-time, let's say so, and he could be a mafia group leader on the other hand. But obviously, because he had the name of a doctor, people would normally trust him because, hey, he's a doctor. He does good to people. He helps people. So it was through this doctor that our journey started. But as Argita said, our dad had to pay like $17,000, the money that we did not have. So, and that money he needed to pay within 7 days. So can you imagine if someone asks you, okay, there's a big chance of you going to the UK by plane, you've got visas ready, we've got passports ready. All you have to do is pay us $17,000 within 7 days. So that is a big deal, and that was like a very difficult task. So my dad had to go everywhere to ask for the money. So he borrowed money from 17 different people. Um, and reach event he really had to beg for the money to be given to him. And obviously the money, there was a condition that you need to pay the money back ASAP. Um, and basically we were told that we would go by airplane, and the day that we had our passports and then we went to Tirana, which is the capital of Albania, to get the plane, the group led by the doctor said, "Where are you going? There is no plane here. Are you kidding us? You won't be traveling to the UK with plane." And while they were telling this, and by that time they already had received the $17,000. So we had to try whatever they told us, because we couldn't give money back to the people who we borrowed it from. And secondly, they were continuously pointing at their guns while they were speaking.
And I remember that scene as if it was yesterday. And I was just praying that my dad wouldn't say anything back to them. A lot of people were killed at the time, and I knew the moment my dad would say, no, this was not the deal, we're going by plane because that's what you got the money for, there would be a fight. And my heart was racing. I was holding Detina by hand, and I was kind of pushing my dad. I was stepping on his foot saying, stop it, just go, we don't have
So
time.
how did you get out?
How did we
So-
get? Yeah. So basically, we just had to accept whatever they said. So they took us to another city in Albania, which is Vlora, and they showed us the speedboats that we had to go to the Italy by speedboat. And then they changed it to a ferry, and then they said, well, I'm the captain of the ferry told us that although you have these passports, the passports expire in 2 days. So if you go to Italian authorities, they are not stupid people, they know exactly what you're doing. So they will tell you, what are you doing in Italy if your passport expires within 2 days? So you have no chance of entering Italy.
but
But we
also
had to try.
but also the fact that at the time nobody went to conference. We're talking about 1997, 1999. Going to a conference was a big thing at the time, an English conference. My parents didn't speak English. So and the question they had is, okay, that's fine, you're going to the conference, your wife is going to the conference, what are the kids doing with you on your passport? What are the kids doing on the conference? This is a business conference. So that would just raise alarm bells. And I remember that we when we went to Foggia, which was where we stopped, the ferry stopped, it was the first time Detina and I spoke Italian to the Italian authorities. We told them, please, sir, let us go. We're going to a conference, and the visa is not a false visa. It's valid. And we didn't even know what we were saying. We were just speaking non-stop just to make their mind up. Eventually got to a point where he felt sorry for us, and he was like, okay, just go. Just leave now before I change my mind. So we
And
just
I remember specifically the moment when I asked him, "What is your name, sir? Is it Mimo?" Because I was hearing the other people saying Mimo, Mimo, and he said to me, "Just leave right now before I change my mind." And then I just ran.
And that
So
was our first victory. If I go back and reflect on the whole journey, kind of this was the highlight for me, because it was impossible to pass the Italian authorities. And we just spoke Italian really well for the first time. I mean, we knew Italian because of TV, but we never spoke it to an Italian person. And that was like, wow, we made it. Because everybody said, you're not going to make it. You're going to come back and you're going to lose the money. But we made it.
right, can I ask if if Desiree or Cody has any question that they wanna ask at the moment?
No, I mean the only question I would have is, as you go through, you obviously have gone through a lot. The question I would have is, how do you not give up, right? Because to even get to where you are right now, you had to probably endure even more obstacles in a different way. So how do you continue, and why do so people who are watching this all over the globe, especially women right now, I'll tell you, in the United States of America, with with Roe v. Wade being struck down, right, and a whole bunch of other things on the horizon here, You know, there are lots of folks, whether they are women, whether they are men, whether they are trans, wherever and whoever they are, and however they show up in their full agency. Some folks are tired. They're tired, right? And so, how do you communicate to those folks through your own journey of what you've been through and your obstacles? How do you convey to them not to give up?
I think, Desiree, that's a brilliant question, because obviously there have been moments in our life where we have been fed up too. We are humans and everybody goes through that stage. I think one thing that I say to myself always is like, giving up is not an option. That giving up doesn't exist. The other thing that I also mention often, is that nobody can do it for you but you. Sometimes we look for other people to give us a hand, or we wait for another person to help us. But if you don't help you, nobody else will. I remember once a person asked me, Detina, you're so confident. How come you're so confident? And in reality, I'm not really confident. I try to do my best, but we have all our insecurities. We are all human beings. And I replied, well, if I don't believe in me, would you believe in me? So therefore, we have to believe in ourselves that nothing is impossible, and we have all the skills necessary to succeed. As I've mentioned previously, every one of us has a talent. Somebody may be good at music, somebody may be great at business or art or science. But if we focus on our talents, if we focus on our strengths, if we focus on the courage and the positivity, then we will see the light. We should always try to avoid the negative aspects and, risk it. If you don't risk, you will not gain.
I love that.
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So
I
I
love
was going to mention back to Detina's point. If you risk nothing, you're a loser anyway, because you're not risking, you're not getting anything back. But I think I would reiterate what Detina mentioned. But what I would also say is that the experiences that you go through, they are supposed to make you stronger. When you go through so much, you see life from a different perspective. You see what really matters in life. I mean, we're all moms in here. We all have kids. We all have family, and they should be our inspiration. We should set the best example for our kids. It's about love and empowerment. Without that driving force, you need that driving force. You need that fuel to push you forward. And you should believe in yourself, and you should believe that you're the most important person. And if you don't do it for you, nobody will. So it's your time, your life. Make the most of it.
That's excellent, Argita, and thank you for asking that question, Desiree. And thank you, Detina, for answering it so well, because you're spot on. Two things that have come out of the two responses about it is all up to you at the end of the day. It is all up to you. But when you do what you've got to do, yes, it says
Yeah.
fortune shines on the brave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When
I
you decided to try to speak Italian for the first time,
yeah.
having speaking only listening to on television, that took some guts. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm sure that Italian was probably the worst Italian that those men at the border heard. But you know what else they heard? The courage,
Yeah.
the resolve.
Yeah.
And that is what they say. They spoke to them and said, you know what? We're going to give these kids, not even the parents, we're going to give these kids who had the nerve to try to speak to me in Italian and try to convince me of something that is clearly
Yeah.
crazy.
Bernie, the
You
other thing that I
mentioned
was going to mention is, we had this dream about going to England and going away from Albania, but we didn't realize what this dream meant. And this dream meant that once we stepped in England, our roles changed. We were the parents of our parents, and our parents were the kids. They didn't speak English at the time. So we had to take huge responsibilities. If you think of
Wow.
a child of 13 years old, having to find solicitor, a lawyer, understand immigration rules about their case so that we could be given indefinite leave to remain, because we could go back anytime. The police could just return us back in Albania within a week, and we were in debt. um, Being also acting as an interpreter for many Albanian refugees at the time who didn't speak English, finding a job at 13 years of age, as well as going to work, so going to school full time, and pretending to be 16 years old, because who would hire a 13 years old? Nobody would.
Something else I did on the first. Yeah.
But
Something else which is very important also is to be in constant touch with social services. So we go to know the social services, every women in the department understand what their responsibility was, what their role was. I think particularly stressful was finding the solicitor and trying to understand what our case was like. So every time we had a problem, we had to call the solicitor and we had to gather our parents and say, this is the problem, this is what we need to do, this is what the solicitor advised. The same thing with social services. And and that took a lot of work for us, in addition to what Argita said, working part-time every single day and also going to school. And to be honest with you, people didn't really like us because we were refugees, and we were twins, so we were the only twins in the school, so we became quite famous, but not for good cause, but because we were refugees. So within a week, every school, every person in the school knew who we were, where did we go, where we came from, etc., etc. So having to deal with also uh,
bullying.
bullying at school was a big thing. Every
Wow.
single day for 3 years, that was a big
Wow.
thing. So that really made us, when are we going to give up? At one point, I remember Argita told me, let's study at home, let's get our GCSEs done, I'm not coming to school. At that point I said, well, no, you're coming, they are not going to win against you. If you go, they are winning, so we are coming here and we're going to face them and you're going to see them in their face, and there's nothing they can do to you. And this is what we did. And it's
Awesome.
fun enough, Bernie, because 20 years later, those students friended us and they sent
Awesome.
long
No, no,
messages.
listen, that is how it always works, especially in the school environment. The ones who
Success
were
is
the
the
popular
greatest
kids,
revenge.
the popular kids at the end of the day, they come to you, the nerds or the people that think didn't really fit in. Cody, I know you're bursting with questions.
Yeah, I have. You said, do you want to ask anything? And I couldn't say anything because I think sometimes you listen to something and it all opens old wounds and
Overwhelmed.
you start to walk in a journey. How do you can't pick away your past, but how do you pick away your trauma and allow it to grow you instead of, it's like you speak about that time now and it's almost like you're back there. um, how do you then turn that situation into something as positive as you've turned it into? How do you not allow it to hold you back, not in terms of like positivity and stuff like that, but then that situation changes you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did not manage to come away as positive as you are. So how do you pick away your trauma and carry
Yeah.
on?
And I
Can I
think for
start?
us,
Okay.
should I answer, Detina?
Okay, go ahead. I'll join after you.
Yeah.
Go.
So I think for us, it was just, we were very sensitive and sensible towards our parents. We were acknowledged that they had sacrificed their lives for us. They had gone out of their way to get the money to come to England. So we had a sense of responsibility and we had to make them proud. That was, always, at least that stuck always in my mind. I want to make my parents proud because they've sacrificed everything. I cannot let them down. But the other thing is, it's these situations that change you. Yes, you said that, right. But they can change you for the better, because I've been through so much. I don't want other kids to be in my position. So I want to make sure that I provide the best example of what one can achieve, and it does change you internally, and some things, that impact you for life, that they
Yeah,
can have an impact for life. They just
that
change.
is so true. That is
It
so
did.
true. And I know that Cody has her own story of triumph over trauma, and that's why she, just in listening to your story, it has taken her back. And Cody, if you feel like sharing a bit of your story, do you feel like you want to share a bit about what you were
Um,
thinking about, the place it took you, and where you are now?
yeah, maybe a little bit. My story is, I think all our stories, we are all the same, because it's like I saw a sculpture, and it's a sculpture of a man standing by the sea, and then there is the top half of him, and then from probably from the waist down he's missing, and then he's holding a briefcase, and then you can see his legs, and there is just, and it's representative of when you leave your home country, there's a part of you that you can never get back. For whatever reason, you're forced to leave, not to go on holiday, but then you're forced to leave. You lose a part of you. And I left Zimbabwe to come to the UK, for exactly the same reason. The situation in Zimbabwe had become untenable, and I needed to come here. But for me, I was one of seven, and I was the only one who came here. So I didn't have my family, but not only that, my family was depending on me for a livelihood, which largely they still do to this day. So the responsibility was not only for me to not do anything silly, like it's like getting into gangs or getting in trouble. I needed to work, and I needed to work really hard, to a point where I used to work something ridiculous, like 60 to 8 hours a week, but I didn't have any money because I was sending it all back home. And yeah, like you, I had to come here and then go through the whole process of making myself legal. So there was legal fees, there was constant fear of doing things wrong. Yeah, and so when you are telling your story, it takes me back to a place where you think, I don't know, almost 20 years later, I've left that place behind, but apparently not.
Yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah.
so true. That is so true, Cody. I feel very, very much aligned with what you said. And when you asked about how do you make the best of this situation, one thing I can say for myself as well is that I've had the privilege of working at the world class institutions, Harvard University, University of Cambridge, worked with NASA scientists, um, University of Oxford. But that's not the most difficult part, because people would probably say, wow, how did you get there? The most important part for me, and the most challenging part for me, has been when I was 9 years old, at the very beginning, at the start of the trauma, if we can call it that way, when I was brave enough to sneak out of the house in the middle of the night among the bullets and grenade to look for my father and make sure that he was safe. So in that case, you can imagine how terrified a child is to lose a parent. Is my dad going to come home alive today? Is he going to get shot? What is going to happen to me if he dies? So I had that courage to look after him, despite Argita holding me back many times. I had to escape from her as well. And that is a difficult, this is where I got the courage. So if I think back, um, for all the things that I have accomplished, if I would call it this way, the most important thing was to find the courage. Although you were terrified, being courageous doesn't mean you're not scared. You are very scared, but you have the strength to face the fear and find what you want. So that's trauma, that we have all experienced at some point in our lives, whether this is a war, a civil war, or some painful memories. We can use that as strength, saying, hey, I went through that, I did this, and here is where I am. So that will not stop me. If
Right.
I've dealt with that, I can deal with many, many more things.
Yes,
Thank
that
very
is so
much.
true. Desiree, I know that you deal with a lot of people that go through trauma. You do a lot of lobbying. You represent people who, you know, really struggled. You know, give us some perspective on that. Your perspective on this part of this
Well,
issue.
two things I will say is yes. So we represent and we work with a lot of families and a lot of folks who unfortunately have their agency being threatened, right? Who they want to show up in the world as, or who they simply are. Those civil liberties, those rights, and in a lot of cases, their lives have been taken, threatened, or are being, or the rules or the systems they thought they could trust are threatening their very existence. So we work with a lot of people and families and entities to protect those rights for everyone. It's extremely important to be able to show up and to do that. And so, whether it is here in the United States, an unarmed Black man being shot for no reason or being choked to death, or a Black woman sleeping and being shot in her bed. We've worked with some very, very difficult situations and traumatic events, or even whether it's the nation's highest court striking down one of the oldest precedents to protect women and their reproductive rights. So the work never stops. The one thing I will say, and the one thing that I'm extremely proud of as we have this conversation, is I feel like we also still have to, and I say this on every conversation we have every month, Bernie, I feel
Yeah.
like we also have to pay attention to our own spirit, to
Mm-hmm.
our own energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we are not taking care and feeding our own energy, our own spirit, and our own purpose, then we can't show up for anybody else, and we darn sure can't show up for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's an extremely important part to highlight. I'm a mother, I'm a wife. So my daughter looks at me and she sees me, whether I'm protesting in the street or if I'm in a courtroom or I'm on the phone, you know, trying to advocate for someone's rights, or their life, right? She sees that when I get off that phone, that I am still present to be able to give her a hug and ask her how her day was, that I'm still present to be able to go for a walk with her. And so I think as we are women doing these amazing things and we've gone through some traumatic events, I don't want to say some, I'll say a lot, we also need to take the time to breathe, because when we breathe, then we can give breath to everything and everyone else.
That you
Yeah.
are spot on, and and it's the whole picture. Yes, it's not just about doing very well at what we have qualified ourselves to do, but it is doing it well at no, go right back to my old I back my old drum, knowing yourself and what that truly means, embracing who you are, loving yourself. And loving yourself is a continuous verb. It is present continuous. And if you do not presently and continuously love yourself, you cannot do that for others. Yes. And so we've got you, we're so right, Desiree. And what does take loving ourselves and protecting ourselves look like? It looks like, first of all, not entertaining hate. Yes, not entertaining resentment. Because going back to your experience, Argita and Detina, if you came away from Albania with a lot of hate for the people that ripped your parents off their last £17,000 which or dollars which they borrowed, which they couldn't even afford, then you got to be stowed away. Give you the pleasure of being stowed away in the back of a truck instead.
Yeah.
Yes. If you took
Yeah.
that with you, and then when you took that with you, you kept it there, then you piled on it. What happened when the people didn't accept you in the land of the opportunity? Yes. And you pile that on it, where would you be today?
Yeah.
You have no time for that, and that's what
Yeah.
so I commend you. That's what I'm talking about when I say what makes you stand out for me. It's not what you've achieved and how young you have achieved it. It's how you've done it, and how you present yourself. Each one of us, and you know what the theme I get here is the sense of responsibility. We're all women. We're
Yeah.
all mothers. So there is the element of legacy. Let's talk about legacy in the context of this discussion now. Yes, who wants to go first?
Can I go?
Yes.
Um, the reason I want to talk about legacy is I went back home for the first time in 2020 after 17, 16 years. And I just happened to talk to my dad because my dad was saying, it's like, I promised your mom that I'm going to give her all these things, and look at me now, I've got nothing. And I said to my dad, we are your legacy. We are the ones who are going to tell your story. And for me, I've not achieved everything that I've wanted to achieve. But I think when it comes to legacy, I will live forever through my kids. So whatever I have, I will pour into my kids, and they will pour into their kids. And as long as we continue to do that, we will never die. That is my legacy.
Oh, that is so powerful. And I
That is
I
so
can
good.
see that being lived out with my mother and myself and the rest of us. Guess who was going to, I heard somebody jumping in.
I mean,
I
I can agree fully with Cody. I think we live through our kids as well. Like whatever we have, we will transmit it to our children. Um, Especially the love for each other, and how to be empathetic and human and kind. Because ultimately, although I'm a scientist myself, the key things in life is not so much how much do you know about engineering or how much do you know about science or business, but it's about how much you love you have, and how kind you are towards others, and how can you work well in a team, and how can you live, you live a humble life yet helping others. So these are the key things that people need in the world that we live in.
Mm.
and um, and being empathetic and helpful towards a society and towards each other, it's something that will make them happier for their own life. If you have achieved so much success and you don't have anyone to share them with, then why do you need all the PhDs and all the cups or everything that you have achieved? You need to share with people, and this is the happiness. It's sharing with each other, it's networking and collaborating with each other. I loved it, Bernie, when you mentioned it uh, in the beginning that you said, when I was young, I was not gonna take anyone with me. But now you're dragging everything with you because you see empowerment in all those things. And this is what we should teach our kids, that working together, being kind, being empathetic is empowerment, and will eventually make you happy by giving towards others.
That's so true. I wanted to say one thing, which is my daughter. And I wanted to say this. And is it doctor? I feel like I should just call you guys both
Yeah,
doctors.
no, no, you can go as Detina. Forget about the
yeah,
Okay,
that's
well,
talk about the title.
when you were speaking about being bullied, and my daughter was bullied in elementary school, and so I tell this story because I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, the part of Brooklyn that in the U.S., the part of Brooklyn that's kind of rough and tough and all that good stuff. So, that's the natural part that comes out sometimes when, I'm trying to protect my baby cub, right? It's that her. And so I really wanted to do that when she was being bullied, but I couldn't. But what she learned from that process was being kind, right? Can change people, period, even when people are not kind to you. My daughter's a national spokesperson for an organization against bullying. And so I learn a lot from her in this phase. But I always say, our legacy is, yes, our children, but our legacy is even the children that we don't have and we don't see yet, right? And so I always say, I drink deeply from wells I did not dig, and so does my daughter, right? I think we exist in this world when we do decide to have kids, when we have children and we have families, to do better, right? We want their futures to be better than our past. That's why we work so hard to make a better, brighter future for them. And so, to make it a teeny bit easier than how we had it. And, that should be every generation going forward. And so when I say I drink deeply from wells I did not dig, that's honoring where I've come from, but it's also honoring that I also stand on the shoulders of giants for people who look like me, who couldn't come into a room and sit down next to a president of the United States or Pope or another world icon, right? And so today I get to do that. And today my daughter gets to, go into the White House like it's just another day on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, right? And so that's the world that we live in, and that's the world that we want our kids to live in. So legacy is extremely important. And legacy is something that should be driving a lot of our decisions, because we won't be here forever. That's kind of how the world made it. And so we are setting everything up for those folks to come behind us to do better, to do more, and to be even just as impactful as we have been.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you, Desiree. And I think we just all mentioned that legacy is about love and humanity. These are two big things that can drive the world and can change the world for the better. And it's not about doing great things, because not everyone can do great things, but it's about doing small things with great love. This is something that Mother Teresa has mentioned. And legacy should start at home, through love, through education, through belief and trust and empowerment and confidence. We should start with parents. We should be the best people to educate and lead a prosperous future, a bright future for our kids and future kids.
Excellent. Right, we're coming to our last 10 minutes. I'm going to ask each of you to give us your final statements. Something that you really want us to not forget. You might have said it earlier on, but you just want to reiterate it, or it might be something new that has come out of the discussions. So last words, I'll start with Cody.
I think for me, as much as I have made a life of pouring into my kids and making my kids the center of my universe, because that's what makes sense to me, I've also learned that they have not suffered the traumas that I have learned, and they have not gone through some of the things that I've learned. So for me, I have learned to learn from them as much as I teach them. There are some things that I would want them to appreciate, appreciate the food, because they've never starved. So they will not have the same appreciation that I have. So when I am teaching, I come from School of Hard Knocks. They haven't. So when I am teaching, I also need to take my soapbox and turn it into a chair and just listen.
Awesome. Fantastic. There you go with your fantastic little sound bites. I love that one of yours. Take my soapbox and turn it into a chair and just listen. Love it. Thanks, Cody. Detina.
Yeah, so I would like to conclude by actually saying a quote that I always remind myself, which I think is also the key to my success, really, which I would like to pass on to my kids, which is being a great dreamer is my most powerful weapon, because it allows me to dream away and then come back and collect the facts. So by this I mean that you should never be stop dreaming. You should dream even the biggest thing that other people might say, wow, how did you achieve this, or how can you dream about this thing? Because everything is possible and everything is up to you. It's you who can make a difference and you who can change your life.
Awesome. Thank you, Detina. Right. Argita.
Yes. For me, is basically giving up is not an option. The show must go on. Giving up is not an option. It's about women empowerment, women supporting each other, women driving the world, changing the world for the better, having that faith in yourself, having that driving force behind you, that love and passion to do great, amazing things that can change the world for the better, and believing that you can, believing that you can do things I cannot do. I can do things that you cannot do, but together we can do great things. It's about joining our forces and making great changes for the world.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Together we can do great things. Desiree, my love, take it away.
I mean, through this whole conversation, my last words would be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that was a major theme here. Also, feel comfortable being unstoppable, but also sharing your story and your vulnerability is also strength. Um, and then the final words for me are love, live, laugh, and legacy.
Yes, awesome, fantastic. Right, so this has just been incredible. There, when I look at the various things that I can pick up from our discussions. Yes, learn from them as much as I teach them. That was Detina. That's she wants to. No, no, no. That's Cody. She wants to learn from her children as much as she actually teaches them. Detina says, "Be a great dreamer," and that's the most powerful weapon. Yes, never stop dreaming. Argita, giving up is not an option. And as women, we should empower each other. Desiree, every time it's all about being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Yes? And we must be strong. Yes? And legacy. Legacy. No, legacy, we tend to talk about legacy in the context most times of a personal thing. And yes, the most important legacy to leave really is that what we leave in our children. But I challenge us as business people because every one of us and the world of work, of enterprise, of innovation, and there is legacy making to be made there. Yes? What distinguishes a business these days? It's the heart of the business. It's the values, yes, the culture of the business. We need to also think about legacy making in terms of entrepreneurship. How about challenging by the way we do things, the way others will do things in the future? What are we depositing in the world of work that people will say, gosh, you know, working in politics and government with alongside Desiree, that person has had an opportunity to think and say, "Oh yes, I can look differently at how I approach this whole thing, how I approach the helping people who are disenfranchised, how I approach supporting political campaigns." Because Desiree always spoke to me about getting out of my comfort zone, not being caught up in the group think, not being afraid of standing on own, or being so closed in our minds, so polarized in our thinking that we don't want to accept or think about anything else that's different from what we think. Yes. How about being influenced by the people that want to engage with concepts and ideas that are not their own? Yes. Be interested in changing your mind, because we all come from the premise that we think we know everything. So, from my perspective, I am saying, when you look at all of what we have talked about today, all the experiences coming from it's such a diverse panel. I love it. Such a diverse panel. But the diversity in the panel is not just where we are from, but it's also in terms of our thinking. There is such cognitive diversity that is so rich that we need to encourage, not just in this space, but as we go out and about. Yes. So I am just absolutely thrilled, guys, at every month, Desiree and Cody, we think, oh my gosh, how we're gonna best this, don't we? But every month we have
We do.
oh it is just brilliant. We have a few seconds, 59 minutes and 18 seconds. Come, guys, who wants to say something? Throw it out. Let's just last words.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for sharing their knowledge And it's such a great honor to be here with you and also getting your perspective. And thank you, Bernie, for inviting us. This was
Yes.
awesome.
Absolute pleasure. Where can they
Thank you, Bernie.
contact you? You're on LinkedIn. They can be contacted on LinkedIn. You want to give us your email address or your whatever contact you want people to have, because this is about promoting you and getting contacts for you.
Of course, yeah. Everybody can contact in LinkedIn, Detina Zalli and or Argita Zalli.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Desiree.
Thank you.
Yes, Desiree, how can they contact you?
So Twitter, I always have great commentary, like I said, at DP Bell, or LinkedIn, Desiree Peterkin Bell. And you can check out our website as well, which is DP Bell spelled and Associates, for any information and what we're working on next.
Awesome. And you, Cody?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn as Cody Gapare, and on Instagram as c.lash by Cody. And yeah, that's my most active platforms.
Awesome. I just see some lovely comments here. Let me just get them on. Can you see these lovely comments that have come up?
Yeah.
Somebody in Canada. Yes. Yes. Oh, very interesting discussion. Tired is a good word, but it's not in my vocabulary. Yes, another person saying awesome. Yes, great. Yes. No, this is going to be recording. You will get the recording for you to share to your networks, guys. Thank you so much. This has been another incredible hour. And yes, see you next time. And to use a Jamaican parlance, what good? Love you guys.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.